Fiscal conservatism in Canada is dead and buried, at least for now. That's the reality that comes out of Alberta's 2026 taxpayer budget. Now, Alberta Premier Danielle Smith's government presented a budget that includes a $9.4 billion deficit, tax hikes, including a $500 million increase to property taxes, as well as deficits as far as the eye can see, which breaks the UCP government's promise never to run more than 3 consecutive deficits. The finance minister is also talking about the need to introduce a sales tax, or at least the potential need to introduce a sales tax, if Alberta is to get off the resource revenue roller coaster train. But the reality is Alberta is bringing in, still this year, $10 billion in resource revenue. So the story here cannot be that there is a big deficit in Alberta because of resources and the price of oil. The story is spending increases. The Alberta government over the past 2 years has increased spending at an average rate per year of 7.6%. This year, healthcare spending is up 6%, education is up 7%. Now that may sound good to some, and it may be politically popular, but it's not sustainable when inflation is only at 3% or less. Now, what do we do for the future? We know that the federal government is running a massive budget deficit, as are the provinces. And the politician solution seems to be today to hike taxes, to run big deficits, and to project no surpluses anywhere into the future. We don't have any provincial government that's acting responsible, and we don't have any leader that is acting responsible. They're all passing these damaging burdens on to our children and grandchildren without much of a thought. And that needs to change. Back in the 1990s, we had governments of every political stripe that cut spending to make ends meet. We had an NDP government that actually cut spending, didn't just decrease the rate of increasing spending, but actually cut spending by 14% to balance the budget back in Saskatchewan in the 1990s. That's something that we need to see again. We need to see real spending restraint, balanced budgets, and low taxes. That is the recipe for future success, and that's the only way we're going to revive fiscal conservatism in Canada. Now, even though the federal government has been running deficits for years, not all of the governments were this way. New Brunswick under Premier Blaine Higgs was running surpluses for many years in a row before the government was defeated in 2024, and now New Brunswick's finances are in shambles under the new Liberal government. And Danielle Smith, her government used to be fiscally prudent, but over the past 2 years it's gotten away from that. So fiscal conservatism in Canada right now doesn't have a home. There is no government that is practicing it, and that's a very sad thing. But it only takes one government to change that, one leader to change that. We need a leader to stand up and say that we need to balance budgets, that we need to cut spending, that we need to cut taxes, and we need to do it now for the sake of future generations. And until then, unfortunately, fiscal conservatism is dead and buried in Canada.